If you are a fellow lover of the art of anime openings, you may be aware that most mainstream shonen anime openings are nothing but flashy nonsense and a mess of often lackluster character profiles. But shows like Fullmetal Alchemist and Attack on Titan prove that popular battle-centered shows can have deep, spoiler-filled openings for those with keen eyes. As for the Western Big Three, their openings can be some of the most lackluster out there. My expertise is far from knowing One Piece very well, but from what I've seen, it pulls a typical shonen light action with some character introductions. Naruto has been known to do some clever things through some of the original series that Mother's Basement has covered in his actual series, What's in an OP, that I'm currently just ripping off. But in the end, most of its openings lack the substance and depth to make them actually engaging for the viewer. This brings us to Bleach, which I have to admit is guilty a lot of what I mentioned above. While a lot of openings use creative and stylistic attempts to keep you watching, they don't really portray anything deeper than the surface level of the current story. This brings me to the first opening of Bleach. After pointing out all of the flaws in mainstream OPs, why am I still bothering to talk about something that seems so unworthy of anyone's breath or time? The reason is, Bleach's opening 1 blows other shonen openings out of the water, featuring the cool alternative rap song Asterix by the band Orange Range, and featuring funky pop-style visuals with panels and designs ripped straight from the manga. There's more to this OP than meets the eye. The opening begins with a rapid pan upwards through a clear sky to look directly into a bright sun, symbolizing a warm and vulnerable beginning. Until the sun is visible, the track is silent, creating a sense of anticipation that is rather short-lived as Ichigo, our main character, jumps feet first into frame to the loud beat of a snare drum. The dark shades of maroon and orange highlight the intensity of the moment. The letters spelling Bleach in different colors are scattered and caged behind him, symbolizing the jump Ichigo is making that will shake up and send his whole life into disarray. The way he's dressed may look normal at first, but it's an homage to several sets of clothes Kubo designed for Ichigo in the manga chapter covers and color pages. An indistinguishable rear end reminiscent of chapter cover 27 from the manga slides by shaded in purple, which typically is used to represent the clash of the calm stability of blue and the fierce reds and maroons featured in the last shot. As the purple behind leaves the screen, we see Orihime shaded in all blue as she smiles calmly up at the viewer. She makes a good addition to the dark world and often serious main cast of the show. To Orihime's left, Ichigo's father Isshin slides in an intense red as he is a pretty crazy guy, as well as Ichigo's 2 younger sisters, Karin and Yuzu, float by, clad in makeshift angel outfits from a chapter cover. Next we transition to a shot of Ichigo in the same design as another chapter cover in the manga. Wearing mostly black, he's contrasted against a bright yellow background patterned with some stylistic brown circles. We pan up to see Rukia with her back to us, wearing a blue dress from the anime. A very stark color contrast to Ichigo and the background's black and warm colors. When the camera movement stops, the rest of Ichigo's friends fade in, facing the camera happily. Rukia's cool colored clothes and position facing away from the camera separates her from the other human students, representing that she is a Shinigami, isolated from everyone else. With each tap on the snare drum, Ichigo's friends pop out of shot, and with the final one, Bleach pops up in big, pop-style letters. You'll notice a number 15 on the left side of the B, and red, blue, and white stripes like the original logo on the right side of the H, which is a nice callback to the manga. For those of you that have been living under a rock for the past 15 or so years, the number 15 is significant for several reasons. The first being Ichigo's age is 15, his name Ichigo is 15 in Japanese, and the number is just seen on his bedroom door and on various clothing designs in the manga. The next shot is a white silhouette of Ichigo and Rukia that move from the middle to the edges of the screen. They pop into color as the background is revealed to be a moving line of the faces of the main human cast in pop-style colors. They slide by until Ichigo and Rukia slide out and the screen changes again. This is a really clever homage to the manga, because the first screen is reminiscent of one of the first color pages or chapter covers for Bleach, where Kubo had lined up all the human characters, and Shinji, behind Ichigo and Rukia. Of course, during all this, Ichigo and Rukia are wearing unique white, red, and blue clothes, reminiscent of some of Kubo's designs. I really like the next shot, with credits placed in a really clever way that look like a colorful copy of the Bleach All-Stars pages that show out the main cast at the beginning of every tankobon. Soon, all the faces of the characters pop out of shot, and we fade to the title screen, showing the Bleach logo and bordering the sides in more red and blue to give extra motion and colors to the shot. As those fade out, the logo itself fades into a metallic black version of itself, The blocky transition brings us to the first verse, where we see a dimly lit alley with our 4 main characters. As the verse begins, we get a really cool sweeping shot to each of the characters' faces, changing on the beat, but missing Ichigo, who never looks directly at the camera, symbolizing there may be more to him than any of the cast or the viewer know. The last shot is on Rukia, which holds for almost an awkward amount of time compared to the others before the camera is thrust into a nearby brick wall and transitions to the next scene. The next shot is simple. We have Rukia framed in black in a Karakura high school uniform, looking distressed to the sky, foreshadowing her loss of powers and fear of Soul Society coming after her for committing her crime of giving her powers to Ichigo. The screen jerks upwards and Rukia disappears, and we see a shot of Kisuke, Jinta, and Ururu at the bottom. It jerks 3 more times next to a split screen of Kisuke and Yoruichi, 2 people who are much more than meets the eye, then to Byakuya looking downwards with just that empty expression in his eyes, symbolizing his confliction towards Rukia's execution in the Soul Society arc, and lastly to the logo, inverted in black and white colors, resembling the yin-yang symbol, which in itself represents the balance of good and evil, or in this case, the balance of souls and hollows. The bridge picks up, and we cut to silhouettes of Ichigo and Rukia arguing with each other against a bright red background, representing the importance and yet how dysfunctional their friendship is. They look away from each other in unison, crossing their arms, and the camera jerks to a weird split to represent not only that the 2 of them are divided in their more minor conflicts, that they both are experiencing inner conflicts dividing themselves. They walk away from each other to then show Kon on the floor, left in front of a bunch of silhouetted feet. He gets stepped on as a not-so-subtle reference to the fact that he's always getting pushed around. Next is a shot I always thought was rather awkwardly placed in the OP of Ichigo, Rukia, Orihime, Tatsuki, Mizurio, and Keigo lined up, and Rukia is beginning to hop and stumble across the log walk, perhaps symbolizing her and Ichigo leading everyone down a dangerous future, but I just feel like it's kinda oddly placed. The chorus kicks into full gear as we get a black and white scene of Ichigo mowing down a bunch of fodder Soul Reapers, which basically just foreshadowing him having to kick a lot of ass in the future. Nevertheless, it's a cool shot to get the viewers hyped. We get a rather rough transition to the next shot that starts focused on a graffiti background wall, but we quickly get a fish-eyed lens transition into seeing Orihime and Tatsuki pop up and look at the camera as they proceed to spray paint it with red paint. The graffiti in the background is being painted by Chad, Keigo, Mizurio, and Ichigo, and is of Kon, saying King O-N for King Kon at the bottom in, you guessed it, white, red, and blue. The girls exit the screen and we cut to a busy shot of feet running and leaving different colored footprints as they go. This resembles the crossing of paths of all different characters from all different walks of life. Their individuality and striking personalities represented by the different colored footprints left behind. Next we see Ichigo standing calmly in the center of a stadium as the camera and thus the world spins out of control around him. This represents how level-headed Ichigo takes on the challenge of becoming a Shinigami and thus warping his normal life. A retro Bleach logo spins on screen as Ichigo and Rukia fade in, wearing original outfits straight from the manga, that fade into their respective Shinigami uniforms. The rest of the cast, framed in respective squares that look like manga panels, slide into frame and pause before the music dies out as to give one last shout, "Remember this manga? This manga was good! Do you remember it?" In conclusion, Bleach Opening 1 sets itself apart from other shonen openings by connecting itself to the manga, and using symbolism to represent key elements of the show. Not to mention put to a kick-ass song! Listen to this! Let me know what your favorite Bleach opening is, and why, in the comment section down below, and consider joining these lovely people and supporting me on Patreon, so I can ditch this god-awful mic and move out of my mom's place. And also make more Bleach and anime videos that I have planned, so remember to stab that subscribe button with your Zanpakuto toe, slap that notification bell with your preferred keto. God, this is so cringy, but I fucking love it. Okay. Remember to stab that subscribe button with your Zanpakuto toe, slap that notification bell with your preferred keto, and shoot that like button with your High Leap file. Cringe aside. Have a wonderful day. Until next time, this is Mango Girl, signing out.